Hello, everyone, and welcome back to For the Minions, the weekly podcast all about upcoming third-person MOBAs that we all might be interested in. This week, we got updates for all four of them, Overprime, Ethereal, Fault, and Predecessor. That kind of has a little bit to do with the fact that I didn't do the show last week. I'm sorry about that. Had some audio issues, but this week we're going to kind of skip the poll to save some time because we got a big topic to talk about. We're going to be talking about the unreleased heroes, the ones that we have a little bit of information about, the ones that were supposed to be in Paragon and never were. That is going to be our topic for discussion. And joining, I'm your host, the Man Goose. I always almost damn near forget to mention that. Oh, also, I should also mention, if you want to come host the show, just let me know. Let me know in the comments below, and you can hook it up with us. You don't have to have a webcam or anything. You just jump on and talk story about all these successors, and it's a good time. But joining me as sometimes is my friend and co-host Jellyknees. How you doing, Jelly?
Joining you as sometimes. I like it, man. Goose, I like it. I am fantastic, man. Happy to be here. And with us again, we've got Papa. Welcome back. Happy to have you.
Thank you guys for having me back.
No worries.
I mean, lots of information, but also not that much information at the same time. Like, it's this weird mix of both.
That's one thing I want to get into when we talk about Predecessor, but
yeah.
But Kay, go ahead and remind the people about your start with Paragon and everything, about how you only play overpowered heroes.
And the specific day that you play them.
Well, on Sundays was a Wukong day. No, I'm joking. No, so I started on Paragon when it first came to the PlayStation in the beta, which I had to pay for a key. So a lot of you people complaining that these games aren't free. Think about that. I started off with Kai, then it just kind of like varied between Aurora, Faye, Wukong was my main, and Seraph. So, and Iggy. Wait, I forgot about Iggy last time. Especially when they buffed him and you could just like literally one-shot anyone or the whole team with his ult.
Tank Iggy too. Tank Iggy was a terror in Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those things when Iggy came out, I was just like, yes, like I love this. And then he came out and was like, well, all right, there are other better people than Iggy and Scorch, and then they reworked him. It's like, oh no, he is the best now.
He was just a fun and interesting character, just overall.
100%. Overall, I feel like he probably was the most broken at times. Like, then all the other characters, he impacted the game the most, from what I remember.
Yeah, and that was because his kit was unbalanceable. He was either useless or broken, and there was no in between.
Yeah. Yep, they had a history of making kits like that.
No such thing, Mangoose.
What? Let's move on to the updates and everything. Let's start off with Overprime, just because they're first on my list this time. They came up with a Trello, which I think is really nice to have. This is about 2 weeks ago they came out with this, so now you can go to their Trello and track exactly what they're working on, what the status of it is, what their future plans are, and it's just a really good way to keep the community updated without having to make constant posts through their Discord or whatever. Just a one-stop shop for everything you need to know about Overprime. Pretty cool stuff. I really like it. I'm just going to run through everything real quick, and then we'll talk about all of it. They also released their infographic from the CBT. They had 57,000 players play the game during the closed beta test. 14% were European, 64% were Asian, and 19% were from America. They didn't say North America. They just said America. There were 20,000 games played, 1 year of total playtime. So let's get into it, starting out with Jelly. Jelly, what do you think about the Trello, the infographic, all these players, the 64% Asian?
I mean, so yeah, the 64% Asian, I think, fits with everything that you and I have talked about in the past, Mangoose, is that their Eastern market is going to be much bigger than it ever is going to be here. And with that, it solidifies that we can have potentially at least two of these successors exist, being Overprime in the East and then Fault or Predecessor in the West, and have both of those things coincide and live in harmony. As for the Trello, I mean, I can't help but say a little bit that this is probably influenced by Ethereal also releasing a roadmap of sorts, and then suddenly Overprime does it afterwards. A little weird, but okay. But I think overall, like you said, it's a great thing to have for people to just get updates. They can go reference it. It doesn't require any kind of website changes for their part, so it's theoretically easier for them to just go in and drag and drop something from one board to the other to give those updates as often as possible. The stats, though, are insane. 57,000 players is an insane metric for their first weekend on Steam, no less, or on a different platform that isn't just their third-party download. 20,000 games, a year of playtime over the course of whatever it was, 5 days. That's insane. That, like, good for them. Round of applause, 100%, because that's huge numbers to hit for your first outing, essentially.
Yeah, big stuff. Kay, what'd you think?
Speaking on the 57,000, because you're saying 5 days, I only got to play it, I think, for 2 days. I think all of you guys, like streamers and partners and whoever, and like your friends, they got to play it. So the fact is that they hit that much time, the time they hit, they was able to hit it within that short space of time for the public is crazy. Because it's what, two, maybe 2.5 days, because the timings were so weird, especially in like Europe. Like, that's just crazy. And then with the Trello thing, it's just, I didn't really know what it was until Mangoose explained it to me. Like, it was completely above my pay grade. I have a lot of friends who are big Paragon fans, but they're not PC people. They have Discord, but if I ask you the last time they used Discord, which is probably like 2 years ago when I forced them to use it, like, just so we could, like, maybe longer, PS3 days when, you know, you didn't have PlayStation Party Chat.
Yeah.
And now there's a website I can literally just, they want to know about Paragon. I don't want to write like loads of messages. I can just send them the link and, you know, they can just check up on it. And I think it's a really good shout.
Yeah.
Even if it is copying other people's ideas.
I didn't go that far. I didn't say that. No.
Yeah,
I think,
impressive
like,
numbers though.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to see what happens their next time, because that was hitting those numbers with relatively little true marketing, right? They had their cinematic on IGN, which was huge, but that didn't say that they're having an open weekend or an open test. So the fact that they hit those numbers without directly putting something out on IGN that said open test this weekend, right, is really big, because that's direct translation from that video into people discovering the game, like doing their own research to find the open weekend or whatever they were doing potentially in Asia that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was very... Oh, sorry. Do you want to go?
No. Be my guest. You are the guest.
Thank you. I feel like they was very smart with the few, like the 3 days prior for streamers, because then all of their followings are going to see the game, whether they liked Paragon or not. There was a lot of streamers that I've never seen on Paragon, but they were streaming the game, and which shocked me. I was like, I don't know this person. I maybe only know a select few, but they definitely brought in a lot of people that didn't play Paragon, because when I was playing the game, people was like, I've never played a MOBA before. I'm like, okay, that's going.
Well, good luck, buddy.
But that's a huge point, right? In our little Paragon niche community, right? It feels like we know everybody. We know the players, right? That if, right, Mangoose's name gets thrown out, the likelihood that a Paragon person goes like, oh, I know at least who Mangoose is, right, is highly likely. Briddick, Nibori, all of those names. Right, so when you go into the Twitch and look at all the streamers and you're like, I don't know 80% of these people, that's a really good thing for them.
Yeah.
And that's a new audience that may have been in the shadows, may have whatever, but that are developing their own communities around that game.
I know there were some Asian streamers that were having thousands upon thousands of viewers watching them play Overprime. So I know I'd never had a single problem getting a match, and I was only in the 19% of the game's population for North America. From America. Hey, that was a really good accent, Kay.
I'll take it because I'm British. That's what we do.
Well, that was a very Texan America right there. I like that. Well, let's move on from Overprime. Talk about Ethereal. The only thing we've really gotten about Ethereal recently was they're increasing the number of internal testers. So hopefully that spells out good things for the future for you guys. Jelly, did you have anything else to update, or is that it for you guys?
That's the main thing. Is that because of a lot of those changes and updates and all those things that we're doing right now in these couple months, that it's more important than ever to have us bring testers in to play the game and actually give us their feedback of what's good, what's bad otherwise. So it's trying to expand that roster as much as we can to get that feedback out.
Yeah. Everything else has been pretty much Patreon posts, which have been really cool. I wish I could talk about them, but I can't.
soon, Mangoose, soon.
Yeah. All right. Cool. And Kay, do you have anything to say about Ethereal before we move on?
No, I'm just excited to play the game again. Like, it was so fun. And that's it. I just can't wait to actually, because I know how to play Leo. I can actually be her. I can actually play her.
You know how to press shift and fly now? This is great.
Yeah. Once you got that down, you're solid on Leah. And knowing when to engage with her R and when to use it to catch somebody that's scopping.
I don't know either of those, but I did like the mage. The mage was really fun, but she seemed really OP.
Noxus.
Yeah. She can be. I love she her. Can be, yeah. Like somebody that can play her really well. It's rough. It's rough.
Yeah, I'm not one of those players, so.
Let's move on to Fault. Fault has had quite a bit going on. They had their item system is now available on the playfault.com website. You no longer have to log into the game to take a look at their items and aspects and all that. They also had an infographic on their Valentine's Day event. It was very support centric. It pointed out like who the top pick rate supports were, who the top win rate supports were, because it was like an assist sort of thing. And they set a goal like if the community could get 50,000 assists amongst the entire community, then they would get a heart avatar, which people were able to unlock. They had like over 100,000 assists, so they doubled that. They also released it's like an Aztec sort of Mayan Decker skin, which is absolutely fucking amazing. I think their best skin that they've done yet. I mean, that's all objective opinion, what your favorite skin is, but I think detail, like just how hard that skin was to make, like is probably it's probably their most detailed skin. It's really good. They announced that the Season 0 perks are now gone, so I guess Season 0 is now officially done. That doesn't mean you'll lose everything that you got with the Season 0 perks, but you no longer get that 10% discount in the store. And then I just wanted to point out that the recent Steam reviews are mostly positive for Fault. I never thought I would see that. I mean, the overall reviews are still mixed, which is better than negative, but but the recent reviews are mostly positive, which is kind of cool to see from Fault. So, Kay, what do you think about all this info coming out of Fault?
I feel like Fault's in its best place it's ever been. I'm kind of annoyed about the Season 0 because I still don't feel like they lived up to, what the roadmap they put out for us. I feel like the game feels amazing. And I just feel like where Fault has come from and the lot of like shit that Fault gets from a lot of people and a lot of the streamers during Overprime and just a lot of the people like, oh no, pred this, pred that. Fault is doing very well. Like, and I'll confidently say that, like, I wouldn't be surprised if Fault would be the ones to survive because of what they're doing and how they're trying to interact. However, Valentine's Day supporting Feng Mao had a skin. That's very questionable. Like, I understand that's like your new character, but where was Steel? And did Rictor get a skin? Rictor got a skin. Who else didn't get one? Was Narbash?
No, Narbash didn't get one either. Yeah, so it was all the sports except for Steel and Narbash, and for some reason Feng Mao got one.
Yeah. But no, the game's in a great place. I have nothing else to really say on them.
Yeah. Jelly, you got anything to say about Fault?
I do. I'll start with my, for lack of a better way to put it, more negative comments, and then go to the positive stuff afterwards.
Yeah.
I think them ending Season 0 with no indication of anything was weird. Like the ending those benefits to me feels like they know that the people that bought the pass that are getting the discount are the ones buying their stuff, and so now they're trying to get more money from those people because the discount is hurting their can't think of the term now, but hurting their profits. And so, which would make sense. Like, I get it from a business perspective. You're like, who's the people buying the stuff? The guys that are getting the discounts. Well, let's remove the discounts so we get more money from them, right? So it's that feeling. I think it would have been way better if it said Season 0 is ending, Season 1 starts in 2 weeks, right? Where then it feels more like you're actually capping off something and to start something else. Whereas they kind of just were like, Season 1's coming. Yay! Let's be excited about that. So it just, to me, is kind of a weird way to do that. The other slight thing, you can't navigate to their item page on their website from the website. You have to use the link they gave you. I literally just went to try to do it and couldn't find the item page.
Really? I was able to do it.
I literally just tried. I couldn't find an option anywhere.
I'm gonna try that now.
Game, learn, items.
Oh, it's under the learn tab. See, okay, I never would have clicked that to find the items. I would have looked for an item tab.
You would think that there would be game items.
Yes,
not learn.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was when I opened it. I was like, well, there's no item tab. Is it somewhere else? Ooh. So there you go. It's under the learn tab, everybody. Mango's figured it out for me. But on the better side of things, completely agree with you that this Mayan Decker skin is the best thing that they've put out thus far. Right? It is the most transformative skin they've done for any of the heroes by a long shot.
I think you're forgetting Astro Gideon. That was actually a pretty good skin too.
It's a good skin. I don't think it's on the same level as Mayan Decker.
It's not.
Like they've actually made considerable additions to her model with that skin, and the textures are great and it looks good. So props to them for it, and I hope we see more skins like that quality in the future. And their Steam reviews being mostly positive recently, I think is a good trend for them, in that they're going from that mixed perspective to definitely an upward swing for the moment, even despite some of the issues they've had recently with optimization and bugs and all that kind of stuff.
So here's a question. Do you think that these games, when they're bringing out new skins, they should market the skins beforehand, or do you think they should just leave it to be a surprise? Because I didn't even know the Decker skin was coming out, and I just went on the game one day and I was like, oh, there's a new skin.
Oh yeah?
I really didn't know.
They teased it on Twitter, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like
I think
the day before the skin came out, they teased it on Twitter.
I think it's one of those things where it's 50-50. If, depending on the skin as well, if it ties into, for instance, we just had Chinese New Year, right? If it ties into that, maybe you just wait till it happens, and then the day of, you drop the skins with the announcement that they exist at the same time. Okay. But then otherwise, you can introduce a skin a couple weeks prior, or tease a skin, or whatever it is. But like Astro Gideon was teased for a couple weeks before they actually showed it off officially. So I think there's a mix that you can do, or they're Valentine's Day skins. Nobody knew those were coming, but it tied with an event at the same time. So I think there's a 50-50 threshold to have there.
Those Valentine's Day skins, though, were not that hard to make. I'm not sure why they didn't make more.
Recolors. Yeah.
Yeah, because that mesh already exists on the other Valentine's Day skins. All you have to do, like, I did it myself and made skins for, like, some of the other heroes, like, myself really easily. Like, so, I don't know. I think they could have made more skins, but whatever. I guess there's going to be plenty more Valentine's Days to come, so they'll just keep doing it.
Yeah. Couldn't do them all at once, Mangoose. Couldn't do them all at once.
I think that's about it. All I got for Fault, unless you guys have anything else.
Nope.
Nah.
Let's move on to Predecessor. We got a lot of small videos coming out of Predecessor. We got the Richter vid on on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. Most of these are coming out on both TikTok and YouTube Shorts. They got Kalari vid, a Feng Miao vid. They got Narbash beating on his drums. They got Sevarog knocking somebody into the tower range, where then Drongo jumps up in the air and ults him for the kill. A lot of cool little videos coming out of Predecessor. My problem, though, is there's nothing substantial. Like, tell me how the game's going. Like, tell me what's been added to the game. Tell me when the next time you're going to have a test for the game is. Like, it's cool to see, especially after so long of not seeing Predecessor. And I hate to start complaining already after we went through such a dry spell with them of not getting information. Like, I love seeing all these videos coming out of them. I would just like to see something a bit more substantial.
And didn't we get a Faye video as well?
I think we covered that before.
Okay, I wasn't 100%
sure.
But I completely agree with you. Like, I will take information. If you're going to give information, I'll take it, right? Don't get me wrong. But you're right. It's kind of very surface level, and it's things that we already knew, right? It's similar to their end of year post. It was a recap of things we already knew. And so, like, Richter, we didn't know Richter was officially in the game, but it was heavily teased in their announcement. The Fae they said was going to be in the game, so we knew that. Kalari we already knew. Feng Mao we already knew. Narbash we already knew. Sevarog we already knew. So none of this is new information necessarily. It's, again, just kind of a rehash of information we already knew or had a good idea about at the same time.
And it's given us visual examples of what it's going to look, kind of what it's going to look like in game. It'll at least look like the highest resolution of what possible. It probably won't look that great like for me, but it is possible for it to look that good if you have a good enough computer for it. Maybe it will look like that for me. I don't know. So we'll find out.
From looking at the trailers, don't you think it looks kind of cartoonish, like the Pred gameplays? Because like, I was watching the Kalari video and the minions are huge compared to Kalari. Like Kalari's like tiny.
I don't know. I've always felt the Predecessor nailed the aspect ratio better than any of the other games as far as making it feel like Paragon. Like the size, like how zoomed in your camera is and how the camera zooms out whenever you cast abilities. I've always felt that Predecessor nailed that way better than anybody else. So, I mean, I guess it's up to you whether you like that or not. I think one of the things that's kind of starting to factor in now is with these other games being out, like we've gotten used to Fault's aspect ratio because that's the only one we can really play. And now when we look at it in Predecessor, even though it's more similar to actual Paragon, it still feels a little bit wrong because we've been playing Fault for so long. You know what I mean? Which we predicted that would happen long ass time ago.
Yeah. That's going to be the endless hurdle that these games will have to leap, is that the comparison of if I've been playing one and go to the other, that one may feel bad because I've been playing Faults or because I've been playing Overprime or vice versa, right? And so it's how do you navigate that as a game when you have two others at least that are doing very similar things?
Did you feel like Overprime and Fault felt like they did feel different, but did you feel like they felt like such a drastic jump though?
I felt that there was a pretty drastic jump between Fault and Overprime. Just Overprime in general felt like just a huge leap in a very different direction, which I think is what they're going for, and I think it's probably what's best for them. It may not be what every para refugee is looking for, but I think it is absolutely the direction Soleil should be taking Overprime in, and I'm happy that they're doing it.
And yeah, to me, Overprime effectively separated itself from the other two, in that it felt like a completely different game despite having the same characters and relatively the same kits, right? Where you can go into a game of Overprime and go into a game of Fault and feel like they're separate, whereas Fault and Predecessor, you can feel the similarities more than you feel the differences.
Man, I'm really looking forward to another Predecessor stress test, though. I can't wait to get my hands on it again. Like, I didn't get to play that last one, and their work is so impressive whenever we're actually able to get our hands on it. I need to get my hands on it again. Stop teasing me with all these little videos. Let me get my hands on it and play it. But I think that's all I had for Predecessor, unless you guys had anything else.
Nope.
Nah, I got nothing else for Pred.
Cool. I didn't really promote the poll this week. I didn't even look at the newest numbers last week. I will say that Predecessor is back way on top. Like they're back up to like 60% of the vote. And I think it just took a little bit, like took a couple weeks for all these updates that they've been giving the community with these videos and stuff to rekindle the community's faith in Omega Studios. But it has happened. They're back. They're way back on top. Like they've never been on bottom. They've always been the top number one pick by the community, but it's even more so now than it ever has been. I think that's about all I want to say about the poll. Vote for it this time. It resets every Friday, the poll does. Like, you don't need to wait for me to remind you that the poll is back up and running. Like, it auto resets.
But Mangoose, if you don't tell me the poll's up and running, how am I supposed to know it's up and running?
Because it automatically does it.
I only listen to what you tell me.
Does it work on phones now? Or
it does work on phones now, yeah. It does indeed. So let's move on to our discussion topic, which is going to be a fun one. It's the whole reason I brought Pappakay back.
Pappy.
God, I've been talking to Pappy Plays too much lately. It's the reason I brought Pappakay back because He was a fun guest, and I thought this would be a fun topic to discuss with him. We're going to be talking about the unreleased heroes that were that Paragon never gave us. Some of them, the one we're going to talk about first, Marsh, seemed to be incredibly detailed and pretty much ready to go. Like they had a skin, a Wendigo skin for Marsh. So what we're going to do, we're just going to talk a little bit about where we think they may have been played, what their abilities might have been, a little bit about their lore, that sort of thing. So, Kay, why don't you start us off talking about Marsh?
I remembered I was looking at something on the Paragon fandom wiki,
Mhm.
and there was I don't know what strings are or like what that means, but there was like gameplay cues on there for him with like a ground explosion, mobility tool, Mark geyser, a Mark telegraph, a primary projectile explosion, an ultimate dot damage, and then a Mark dot damage, and then it also had an exposure stack and an immunity stack. So with movement speed, I'm gonna say, I want to say mid laner. Like I think he's a mage, but I feel like he would have been a mage jungler on the basis.
Kind of like
like-
Giannis?
Yes, but a ranged mage jungler.
Mhm.
But I feel like he would have been super squishy, so very similar. I don't know if you guys played. I can only refer to Smite. I keep saying this. But very similar to Hebois, I think, or Hebo, or I think his name is in Smite. So like his basics are very close range, but then he can do like mid to far range abilities. But then he can do a lot of damage, but he just gets like wiped out. He can kill in like 2 hits.
Jelly, what'd you think of Marsh?
I mean, so the interesting thing with Marsh is, and a lot of these characters actually, is that they were going away from the bipedal character design.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to see that. And that's something we talked about with Ethereal in the past, because we've shown off the concept art for a quadruped character. That's a whole level that you can go into that most 3D MOBAs have not gone into. And so it's really curious to see so many non-bipedal characters as their like next few. And part of me wonders if that's why they were never pushed out, is that they ran into balancing issues of some kind with these different character design types.
Right. I think when we get into Hatch, I think that was definitely the reason Hatch was never introduced to the game.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as Marsh goes, I think Marsh would have been a mid laner, like we were talking about. They have an ability listed called Kobe Jukes Fish, which is like a piranha that is obviously a projectile. My thinking behind this, what I at least think would have been cool, was a projectile that can be launched kind of like Rampage's Rock, but with a much smaller hit area that gains more damage the longer it travels. So if you can launch it from your core all the way to their core, nail somebody in the face while they're coming out of their fountain, it would just delete them. Like, I think that would be so cool if you had a really hard to hit ability like a Rampage Rock, but it gained damage the further distance it traveled, which is a cool idea. I don't know if that would have been what they did with Marsh, but I think it's a cool idea.
Well, with like a drop effect, so it's like a throwing knife in Call of Duty, so it goes like it arches.
Yeah.
So depending on how high you aim.
Yes, exactly. He had
That would be so
throwing
sick.
piranhas.
How do you think his jump animation would be? Because you was talking about like the difference between the normal two-legged characters to like different beings. I'm gonna call it. I don't know.
He's got a slug body. I don't know how he would jump. Maybe
Yeah.
Just
And maybe he wouldn't. And that's exactly, I mean, that's part of the thing you can do with these characters is you can introduce movement differences because they are just biologically different.
Yeah.
Right? It's not quite the same, but like Grognark in Ethereal can't jump because he's a giant rock, right? The point is that he's so heavy that he's permanently on the ground. And so you can introduce more unique concepts like that when you branch out of that bipedal kind of design.
I think it would be cool to give him something like a bit of CC resistance, just because like roots wouldn't affect them as much since they don't have legs to get tripped up by roots. I think that
He
would
just
be
slithers right out of them, no big
yeah,
deal.
exactly.
he could leave a slime trail, and then like basically for like 5 seconds as his passive, and every time like he can go back over that slime trail faster.
Ooh, that would be neat. It'd be like Iggy and Scorch's oil spill.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
I think as far as lore goes, definitely from Zeshan, probably the same swamps that Moragesh came out of, and apparently Narbash probably lived in, since part of the lore is that he once gave Moragesh a frog or something like that. So I think definitely Zeshan with that little crew.
sword
Then he's
in
got
his
the sword stuck in his back that you pointed out, Pappakay, which looks a lot like Greystone's sword.
Mhm.
So
And
my
that's-
idea. Oh, sorry. Go on. No,
No, go all you. Go ahead.
no. You had something. I took the limelight before. I apologize.
I mean, that's kind of the thing you can do with the lore of Paragon, especially with how integrated some of the characters were. It seemed like every character that came out in Paragon had relation to at least one other character, right? In some capacity. And so having Marsh come out with like some kind of tie to Moragesh, and then maybe potentially some kind of tie to Greystone in like a hunting capacity, could have been a really cool idea for sure.
Well, I know Kay has a pretty interesting idea for the whole sword in his back and everything.
So in Greystone's lore, from what I remembered, he ran from wherever he was from, and I assumed that Marsh had invaded, or like his race or something. They had attacked basically the castle he was from, because Greystone was supposed to save a princess or something like that, and he ran, and that's why I think that's the basis of his ultimate and why he can like come back, because he has the ability he has, and that's why I assumed is like maybe he got into a fight with Marsh, or his people was fighting, they lost, they overthrew, and then that's why Greystone is on this thing of running away, because he's a good lane pusher.
He can run away pretty good.
Assault the gates is really meeting his own gate. He's assaulting it to get away from the thing it's invading, not actually trying to siege the castle. That's what it is.
The other thing we had with Marsh was the lantern. Like, they very specifically had a modeled lantern for him. And my idea for that, which I think is probably wrong after hearing what Kay dug up, my idea was that like marsh lights are known in actual mythology to like lead people to their death. It's actually just phosphorescence in the swamp, but people would follow them, and that was the mythology, was that it was a lantern that would lead people to their deaths in the swamp. So I was thinking maybe it would be like an AoE taunt, like he pulls out the lantern and everybody has to come towards him. Maybe he's immune during that time.
That could be his ult that brings in the dot damage, because he had a dot damage ult. So I feel like your one's way better if it's not that. I feel like they should go with that.
Yeah, apply a dot and pull him in a little bit. And
what about the little nest looking thing? I don't remember. You called it something.
A pestule, I think, is what I was calling it, but I don't know what they would have named it.
I mean, to me, Marsh is a jungler more than he's a mid laner.
You think so?
I think, yeah, because of everything you guys have talked about, right? To me, the marshlands, it's the area between, right? It's you go to the marsh. You never just exist in a marsh for the most part. And so him being able to roam the marsh with the lantern, potentially creating some kind of like fog where he goes, creating that that
would be neat.
That idea of the lantern being the light to guide you somewhere. And really it's just him, and that's how he kills you, right? It's that kind of the predatorial bait and switch that he's pulling on people. That's what I see when I think of all of that. And then having some kind of dot ultimate and all of those things tie then further into that foggy concept to me.
Yeah. It would have been cool to see him. That's for damn sure. Let's move on from Marsh to the other one that I think definitely would be a jungler, which was Hatch. Jelly, you excited about Hatch?
Dude, I am so mad that Hatch never came out. This was one that I had heard about in like leaks before the game even died, and I was like, yes, please give me. I hate spiders for like a personal thing, but in the game, like the idea of a spider that potentially could like climb walls sideways or any of those things was such a cool concept, and I wanted to see it so badly, especially again straying away from the bipedal concepts for Paragon. Having a spider like actually roam around, would have been such a cool thing to have.
Yeah. Okay, what'd you think of Hatch?
He looked amazing. Like he looked amazing, but it's just the thoughts and the ideas that you just come with as soon as you see him. So he looked like a really heavy spider. Now I'm thinking about what you said about your character, the character in Ethereal. I didn't even know he couldn't jump. But if Hatch couldn't jump, but then as you said, his basis, he could walk up over walls. So all the places that where normal people would jump over with their abilities, he would just like crawl over it. but then he may be slightly slower than other people. And because it's a 3D mobile, not Smite, an actual 3D mobile where you could aim, you can shoot him on the wall and stuff like that, and he could like lay down webs, like traps, like little spiders. Like there's so much they could have done with him.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Well, and the thing I think about for a lot of these is games will usually have placeholder names for characters when they're in earlier development, and then update their name to be whatever the final name is later on. And so I wonder how many of these are the placeholder names versus the actual final name. And if it's usually the placeholder names are indicative of who they are as their character, like their identity as a character. So if Hatch was a placeholder name and not the final name of the character, then I want to know what the abilities would have been so badly of like, were you placing like spider eggs around the map and they hatch when people come out? Like what? Like there's so much potential.
Jump on you like face huggers.
Exactly. Yes. See, this is that's I think about the game Evolve had a spider monster. It was a 4v1 game style, had a spider monster that was one of my favorites in the entire game and could do some of those exact things of like hatching little spiders to do things and jumping on walls and hiding. Like that idea I think is really, really cool. And something Paragon kind of started to do with Sevarog, but then didn't really touch past that, was kind of lean into that some of your characters can be horror-esque, right? Yeah. And that Sevarog is kind of like the bringer of death, right? The Grim Reaper. And you can lean more into that. Marsh, I think, leans into that idea. Hatch, again, could be another one that leans into that idea where you can go that darker route with these characters and have their kits really define that difference in tone.
Yeah. I definitely had an interesting design. Like it wasn't just a straight up spider. It was like a spider's body, but it had like a Quato growing out the front of it, like Total Recall style. And then like its forelimbs, like the two limbs up front were very pronounced and sort of club-like, kind of like Grux's clubs. In fact, maybe Grux's clubs are made out of Hatch forelimbs.
Oh.
Because if you look at his forelimbs and you look at Grux's clubs, they kind of look the same. But yeah, I definitely think it would have been a jungler, he or she, whatever it was. And I would love to see other games have this. Like you have Richter, you hit somebody with a pull and it pulls them towards you. I would love to see Hatch be able to throw a web at somebody and then pull themselves toward that person as an engage. I think that would be really cool. Or just anywhere they wanted to, like throw the web up onto a tree and then be able to stick onto that tree. But if you do hit a hero with it, you fly into them and deal damage. I think that'd be fun.
That would be really different. Or even just like a web that shoots and knocks them against the wall and holds them there. Yeah,
that would be neat.
Oh, so many cool ideas.
Yeah, like a lot of stuff I could have done with
so
Hatch.
Sad.
Now the next one I want to talk about is Patton. This guy, big old gun, definitely looks like he's part of the Omega Police Department. I think Kay, you mentioned that when we talked about that last week. He might have been Murdoch's cousin or something. Now, we had talked about this last week, Kay, and then the audio got messed up. But since then, I've talked to a few people. Apparently, Patton was supposed to be a long-range mage, like an artillery mage. Because I totally thought he would definitely be a carry with that giant railgun he's rocking. But apparently, he was supposed to have like grenades and stuff, and he was going to be like a long-range mage, kind of a bit of a howitzer sort of thing.
Huh. To me, I looked at his picture and I saw that gun and my immediately thought was like artillery. That we've got the mage, like the front forward battle mage in Bellica. We've got the carry in Murdoch. And if we're going to say that he's part of the police department, then you need some kind of artillerist attached to that as well. And so that he fits in super well, I think, for me.
What the fuck is going on? Yeah, he does look RoboCop-ish, doesn't he? But without a pistol, he's got a shot. I wonder what the fuck is going on in Omega City that they need like Bellica and Murdoch and this guy to police that city. Like, Jesus.
And they're a trio. They go everywhere together. They only go out on the most important jobs. They're like, we got to call those three in. Right?
Actually, least important because they got time to go fuck off in Agora.
No, you only call them when it's really bad.
Okay.
So they're not the Avengers. What's the DC one called? I completely forgot. With like
No,
the bad ones.
Oh, shoot.
Suicide Squad?
Yeah, Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
They're like
yeah.
the Suicide Squad. Well, I'm looking at some of his stuff now on the fandom website, and it says he's got grenades. He's got a primary slug. He's got a plasma projectile. But then it also says he has an alternate, so he may have had different stances.
Stance switches, yeah.
Ooh, that
Yeah,
would be neat.
we was right about the jetpack. It says something about primary helicopter movement speed, and then it says something about a sword. So a mega sword. I don't know. Oh,
A
maga
mega
sword.
sword? What?
Maga sword.
A maga sword? Was it like shaped like Donald Trump?
Oh my god.
There's so much, but yeah. And they've even got his attack speed rating, his base attack time, cleave rating, like they've got all of that stuff there as well.
Oh,
It
nice.
seems like aside from Boris, he was probably one of the next ones to come out.
Yeah. And very, very finished artwork for him, and definitely modeled, 3D modeled. Yeah, that man. Now that I know he had a mega sword, I want to see like maybe that, like that'd be one hell of a stance switch. Like you go from pounding people with long range artillery, and once they get close to you, you whip out a fucking. I'm thinking the phase sword from Halo, and just start going to town with that shit.
Well, they go into detail about in his ultimate. They've got his primary. They've got his alternate, primary, secondary, and his ult. But his ultimate goes through, I guess, it's a combo. So it's probably be a lock-on move for a group of people or one character. Because it says Mega Sword, Whirlwind, Infinite Edge, cooldown, Infinite Edge damage, Laser in Strike, Laser in cooldown damage, blah, blah, blah. Mega Slash, then Reaving Blade, then Skullbuster, then Sky Slam, Slice and Dice, and then Transform Duration, and then Whirlwind.
Jeez.
What
So-
the hell?
They had, I'm guessing that was different stances for different abilities, or it was like a move you hit and then you just keep like doing the different stuff through it, because they don't do much damage, but I feel like all of it adding up would do a chunk of damage.
Man, now I'm really, really curious about Patton. Like I was all in on Marsh, but now I'm really curious about Patton.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, that's freaking nuts.
And if he was that close to being done that he had his numbers all in there as well,
Yeah.
I'm really curious why he wasn't included in the free assets.
Do you
Because
think-
Boris was included because he was that done. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't just a concept at that point. But if we had flash arts, a model, a material on the model, his numbers, his abilities, everything, like I wonder if he was just under the threshold of ready enough to go in that group setting or in that release.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder that about all of them, to be honest, but
I
that
would-
even in an unfished state, ship them anyway and let someone else pick up those pieces.
I would
I'd
love
love
for
to see
one of
that.
them to get a hold of these. Oh, Pappakay just linked
That's his
Mhm.
ult.
just his holy shit.
Yeah, that's what I
That's
was
a lot of
confused.
stuff.
Some
for
kind of
ultimate.
combo.
Yeah, some kind of combo, but even all of his abilities, I don't know if I can even send it. I think I need Nitro, which I don't have. I'll send his other abilities as well. This is his alternate. And then
Huh.
here's his primary and thing. They've all got different, like, words, I'm guessing different abilities within his ability. So he probably had like 3 or 4 different stances, which would have been crazy.
Yeah. Summon llama count, llama move speed, llama health, llama damage. He had a llama?
He had a llama. The new best hero in Paragon had a
Defeated some
llama.
steak? What was the llama's name in Napoleon Dynamite? Tina?
Tina, you fat lard, eat your dinner. Oh my god, dude! If it had gone out into game and been called the llama, I would have called it Tina all day long.
I think everybody would have. Oh, I just got hit with the Tina.
Brilliant. I love it.
This motherfucker's over here feeding Tina.
Hey, it seems like he summoned llama count. He like 4, 6, 8, 10. He can summon 10 Tinas.
10 llamas? That's insane.
Oh, what's
Maybe get
Patton
Cusco
doing
in there.
some of the llamas?
With
I've got-
Bellica and Murdoch by his side, he's got the llamas to bring him in. They all become the cavalry real quick.
The rest of the OPD. All right. Final one. I thought her name was Yang for a while. That's the name of the artist. It's Soleil. But Yang made sense to me because I got Yin, and she's definitely of the same ilk as Yin, Soleil is. She's got her fan and I don't know. She just fits in with like Yin and Feng Mao and Wukong and that whole windy city that they're guarding and Aurora and all that stuff. So I thought that it would be nice to have like a Yin and a Yang, and like she might be similar but a little bit different from Yin. But anyway, her name was Soleil, so I'm completely wrong anyway. And we don't really know too much about her. We only got like just a little bit of artwork. But
to me, I mean, Soleil is basically trying to say sun, right? So she's got some kind of sun abilities, which I think would have been really cool for sure.
Oh,
especially with the golden armor that you see in that concept art. I think really tries to emphasize that idea.
And then, Kate, what do you think about Soleil?
I would have loved another jungler, and I feel like she looks like, an assassin, like a lot of acrobatics, flips, potentially throwing her fan, something from Mortal Kombat. She looks like, Katana, and I feel like she would have been crazy. Like, just looking at her weapon, she has 2 fans with blades on them. So maybe another bleed inflicting character, and also she would probably have like a movement speed ability, just get around the map or something along those lines. Maybe she could fly on the fans. That would be sick.
Oh, that would be neat. I would like to see her be able to, just as a basic attack, throw the fan and it spins in place for a bit and then boomerangs back to her. And if she had 2 of them, she could have 2 of them spinning out at one time. So like if you lock somebody down, that would do like a ton of damage. Or you could just hold it on one minion or something like that. I think that'd be a cool basic attack idea that we never saw Paragon implement, but we've seen it in some other games.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Now, you said that she was the last one, but what about Igor?
Oh, I don't think Igor was actually supposed to be in Paragon.
No?
I don't think so. I never found anything that specifically had Paragon labeled on it. Igor just happened to be a creation of Zach Foreman, who also did Hatch.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So what about there was like a bunch of other names on the wiki, on the fandom wiki. There was like Magnet, Ian. There's Crag, which he has 2 strings, a Crag Roll-In and Crag Shredcast. But the biggest one I found was Tim. I don't know who the hell Tim is.
Tim.
And he's
The Enchanter?
Is he an enchanter? Is he him?
Yeah, Tim the Enchanter.
I think he's got attack speed rating increasing quite a lot. So I'm guessing
he's Scott's brother, Tim.
Scott Steele's brother, Tim.
Yeah, exactly.
and he's got all of his abilities laid up, like his ultimate rewind time, secondary slow stack magnitude. Like he's got all of his stuff there, like his whole kit. Secondary radius, attack count, duration, steal movement speed. He's got his ult, arc, cooldown, cost, all of that stuff's there.
See if I can find some imagery of Tim.
I want to see this character. And then the Huntress, but that's old, isn't it? I think you've spoken about Huntress before. She was in patch 24, or that's when people found her. She never got brought into the game.
Oh, Tim.
No, I can't find anything on Tim. I bet he would have holy hand grenades and a rabbit with big pointy teeth.
So he'd just be like a giant worm.
And I mean, one of the other characters that we can kind of talk about that didn't exist in Paragon, but does exist in Fault and probably will exist in both of the others is Boris.
Oh, yeah.
Boris technically never released in Paragon. But from what we hear, Fault's kit is pretty similar to what he was going to be in Paragon based on the numbers that were released and all of that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting to see that, and I would have loved for Boris to come out in Paragon, though he would have been absolutely busted like Boris was when Fault first came out.
Yeah.
Right? Like Boris was an overtuned monster, and so in Paragon it would have been 10 times worse.
Yeah. Paragon loved to release those overpowered heroes. Yeah, I think it's interesting that, I mean, when you can look through his, you pull him up in the Unreal Engine and go through his abilities and stuff. And I can see why, like, Overprime had Boris for a little bit before they went to Netmarble. And his abilities were fairly similar to what they are in Fault. And I think it's because the animations and the names are kind of suggestive of what they would be, like the double swipe, and there's an animation for him swiping twice. One of the interesting things is one of the differences is in Fault, your Q, you snort the cocaine and you run straight at somebody and you get a burst of attack speed. In Overprime, you would charge towards someone and it would pick up speed the faster, the longer you charge towards them. When you hit them, it would damage you and them, and stun both of you. I think it was like a weird maneuver.
It was like a full. You want to go tanky and you just dive bomb in and stop somebody for your team
and then
at the cost of your own health.
His ultimate was basically Steel's ultimate too, in Overprime, which is not that much different from Fault, where he jumps up in the air and then slams down on on a person, but it's a lock on in Fault. It was not a lock on in Overprime. It was just an AoE.
So, all right, cool. Here's a question for you guys. 2 questions. What's your lot's main roles? Like, what's your preferred main roles?
Support.
Jungle.
Oh, okay. I know the support because you play a lot of Deca, Mangoose. I know you like Kalari, but I didn't know if that was your main role, Jelly. I know you love Kalari because I remember how you went on about her when it came to Overprime.
Please. No, I'm a jungler through and through. Despite hating the jungle 98% of the time, I'm definitely a jungle player.
What game that out of the games you've played, not including Ethereal because they don't count as a Paragon zombie. They're their own thing. Okay. What jungle have you enjoyed the most? Honestly.
Oof. That's hard. I mean, honestly, I think I would have to say Overprimes so far. I didn't get to try the new and improved jungle very much in Pred during their last test, but I know it changed a lot between tests, so it's hard to say for sure for them. But Overprimes, I think, offered the most potential once you understood how to play the jungle, whereas I think the others are more straightforward. So I think it was more rewarding to be a jungler in Overprime directly.
Okay. Oh, okay. And this is kind of still in the question from the Ethereal stress test sign up. What passive or ability would you guys like to see in the Paragon remix? Not Ethereal, but the Paragon, successors, not remix.
What passive ability?
I'm gonna say a passive.
What?
I think in general, I couldn't think of an ability quick enough off the top. I think in general, I would have loved to see more takes on basic attacks, similar to how Yin changed basic attacks for the carry role.
Nice.
I think more differences like that would have been huge for Paragon. And similarly, like Ethereal, we've got Malware that's doing the charge shot instead of just your traditional basic attack, right? Implementing more unique ideas like that into a MOBA, I think could have been really, really cool.
So like Revenant, and they tried to do a jungle, which they failed, but that sort of basis.
Yeah. I'd like to see Aurora slide. I'd like to see that brought back.
As a passive, I'm talking about what passives, on that basis of passives.
Passives. Shit, I don't know. That's Crunch's
Deep
passive.
Crunch passive on everybody. Everybody gets the Crunch passive.
Yeah, that's the only passive I can really think of.
Okay, but ability-wise, you want more movement abilities that also have a terrain effect. Because Aurora's movement is very unique for, I'd say, all MOBAs I've played. I've never seen anyone else actually being able to dash, and she can change the whole game. Your team could be in a fight, and you could just, oh, hey guys, bye guys, and you could literally, even at the beginning. I don't know if I was a scumbag because I played Aurora, but I used to wait until the minions would spawn, use my wall, and then hold my minions so that the minions would be in my tower.
Yeah, it was the only way you could hold the minions was with Aurora, and that was definitely a good strat to use with her.
Yeah, I definitely think that does put you in the tier of scumbag, though. Sorry.
I mean, that's a common strat in Dota and stuff. Being able to hold your minions back longer than the other guy is your skill or whatever. But Aurora was the only one that could do it in Paragon. Saw some really good plays with that wall. Saw some plays where she cut off her own
terrible ones.
Yep. Or she didn't do it right, so that she just zerped into a wall and then fell down.
But that's what another thing was. She could go up. That was such a really great concept, and your teammate could follow you and run up. Obviously, it was a very short time, but your teammate could run up the ramp. So if your carry needed help, you could get her from, let's say, your mid lane fighting in between towers. She's getting ganked or whatever. You've dashed in, pushed the enemies away, and now your teammate can just jump on it and run up, and then it disappears. Yeah. That is great. She's such a very good character. Bit OP with her ult, but Very good character.
Yeah, I loved Aurora. Miss old Aurora. But anyway, I think that's it for all the newer heroes. And yeah, unless you guys had anything else you wanted to say about the heroes that never got introduced.
Not that comes to mind.
No, I think we're good.
I just hope one of these companies could eventually pick one of them up and put them in their game. That would be really cool to see. I don't know if they would have to pay for them or not, but that would be nifty. So let's move on to plugs. Pappakay, you got anything you want to plug?
I'm really bad at this, guys. My YouTube channel, Pappakay, and then recently I've been playing Elden Ring, so I've been streaming that like literally every day for like 1 to 2 hours. I've been doing everything. Like I'm still in the first area, and I've spent like 25 hours on the game, I think, so far.
Yeah,
nice. That's very excessive of hours, but yeah, that's it.
Jellyknees?
Awesome. Nothing to plug for me. I'm not doing much the next couple weeks because I'm getting ready to move. So the whole background will be different. I'm moving to my own place, so I'm getting out of my sister's basement. I'm no longer going to be a basement gamer, you know?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. What about you, Mangoose?
I got nothing to plug, but yeah, I think this has been interesting. Again, would love to see. I think if any of these studios has a shot at getting some of these unreleased assets, probably would be Omeda. Hey, Smudge! It'd probably be Omeda since they got Steve Superville on the team, and RGSA's are always had such close ties with Epic. But I don't know, it'd just be cool to see any of them. And I think it's also really cool that Overprime is already adding their own heroes. I know that's going to piss some people off that their favorite hasn't been added yet, but they're making a whole new hero for other people to play. But I think that's the direction Overprime needs to go in. I think each one of these games does have an established path that they want to take, and I think that they're walking those paths, and they're starting to harvest the fruits of that labor. So even Fault, they stuck with the course, and now they've kind of improved their image, and they're starting to get those positive reviews. So, you know, good on them. But I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. Appreciate you guys watching the premiere if you're watching that, or watching the video later. And leave some comments. Let me know if you want to come host the show. Let us know what you think. All of like Marsh and Hatch, where they would have been played, any of their lore, what you think their abilities might have been, and anything that you found out personally about what their abilities might have been. But that is going to wrap it up for this week. You guys have a good one.
Bye, food.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say it this time. Mangoose. Special shout out to channel members Foolish Bloodhunter, Jellyknees, Meow Mix for Men, Stunt, Ferrith, and Raven.